Hi everybody, welcome to Rambling Toffee podcast. I hope everybody is doing well this miserable Monday. And just to cap off a miserable weekend, really. Um, the performance on Saturday, I'll get into that in a moment and everything that took place regarding that. But yeah, it for me, the feeling I have at this moment in time is that we started really, really well in that game. We played well. And I'm going to talk about people have different opinion of it. Let me know what you think in the comments below on YouTube or on Spotify or on social media or anything that when you be able to see this podcast later. Um, when did you actually think? When did you start to see the change in the performances or the way the game was actually going? Because I was watching that game like everybody else around me. We were all watching a really, really good performance. Obviously, the change that was made by the manager for the team on Saturday was obviously Sean Dyche coming in, and also Harrison going on the other side, and McNeil going playing behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a 10. So it, it's that little subtle change for I'm guessing around 70 something minutes, 72, 73 minutes was a really, really good setup. Everything seemed to work. We played really well. The passing and phases of movement, passing defensively, we were strong as well. Obviously, Michael Keane was still deputising for Jared Bramford at this moment in time with Tarkovsky, with Seamus Coleman and Mikalenko. And it seemed to be from what it was the best performance, and I've said this, and it's the best performance that I actually saw for a while from an Everton team. Not just keep on launching it like we always do. We were passing it around. Movement was really, really good. There was a lot of endeavour and creativity, mostly coming from obviously Ndiaye. And also, I thought Irabunum had an absolutely fantastic game. Again, he keeps on impressing, keeping increasing. So, as much as what we'll get to in a moment, and what the effects of what happened after the game, and how we've come from a situation where we're two up and actually playing really well and playing some fantastic football. You're getting good performances, obviously, from Iran and Day, as I mentioned, but also Dominic Calvert-Lewin was playing really, really well. There was a lot positive to see, and from a fan's perspective, I'm in the main stand with people around me, and we were just shocked at what we were seeing. We were seeing, finally looks like you brought a player in that is going to be the bee's knees is going to come in. Bee's knees, for the hell, where that phrase come from, but come in and actually excites us and gets us on our edge of our seat and wondering what he's going to do next. And that was everything was about that. We've talked about Irbunum, the way he's week in week out, he's getting better and better and better in his performance. And there's always the but. It's what happened around the 72, 73 mark, what I started to see and what other people around me started to see. And what I started to see was certain players started to flag and they started to get tired. They started to show signs that they could that a change needed to happen. And what I also noticed before we got to that 72, 73 minute mark from when I was starting to notice this, when we were two up, when we'd gone two up and the football was fantastic, we could be three or four or five. We might not even have this conversation. We might not be even talking like this today. But what happened at that point, it was on Bournemouth. The manager, who is a younger manager, inexperienced manager in the Premier League, makes the decision to bring three new, fresh players onto the pitch. He knew his team. We have to try. At that moment in time, he's probably thinking with his coaching staff, he's probably thinking, we need to minimise this because they could go three, four, five. We need to stop Ndiaye here. We need to stop him. And he also was probably seeing like Irabunum still doing really, really well at that point and thinking, I need to actually do something about this to try and to stop Everton from actually scoring another goal and keep on competing away. That's what I think is going on. So he's made the three changes, and then roughly it's still 2-0. Roughly we're going into the 72, 73. They get a goal back. It goes to 2-1. They bring on two more substitutions around 72, 73 minute mark. They get a goal back. It's 2-1. But from my perspective and what was happening, we were looking at the bench. We were looking at Sean Dyche. We were looking down in the main stand in the corner. We were looking down. And instantly we said, when are you making changes? When is he going to make changes? Because what we were seeing is that Iriburn was the first instance of something changing within that midfield. And he was giving the ball away. He was out of position. And then we started to see Bournemouth started to pass the ball a bit more and getting further forward. And we started to see that. And you can see it. And this is quite around 70 something minutes, 73. I started to see it. But also I started to notice James Coleman as well. Now he's been out injured and he's come back into the team. Obviously, on the bench you've got Jimmy Garner, you've got Ashley Young. Whatever people think about Ashley Young, he's on the bench. Okay, he's there and he's played in that position before. Obviously, Patterson's not back, but you've got players that you can put in that position to change it. Okay, so you start seeing those two players. There were the two players. I noticed, many of us noticed that they were getting weaker, and you can see what was happening. And that was around 72, 73 minute mark. You started to see, but this is where the frustration and this is where the anger after the game comes from regarding the manager and regarding the game management of the manager and his coaching team. Because on what we are seeing is Ndiaye playing really, really well, showing all the energy, and he was still going at it. He was still going at it up to 73, 74, keep on going. There was no sign of him flagging or showing any signs to me or anybody that he needed to come off. He needed to be rested. We needed to change that situation. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is another player. We always talk about his fitness, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and whatever we think about his contract situation, everything else, he really performed really, really well. He took his second goal really well. His hold-up play was really good on Saturday. He was really, really good and actually doing the job, doing what we want him to do. So that's a positive as well. And he was not even showing any signs of flagging or any kind of thing. But we get to the 80th minute or whatever time it was, and Sean Dyche and his coaching team decides, oh, Ndiaye, I think he needs resting. I think he's done his thing. Let's bring him off. He's done a great job. Let him get the standing ovation because he's played absolutely fantastically. Man of the match performance. He's done really, really well. Let's bring him off. And one of the things that baffled me was after they got their goal back, it was 2-1, ready to kick off. They made the change, and Ndiaye was actually ready to go. He wasn't even looking to the bench, and the board went up for him to come off for. Let me think. My brain's gone south. Decore, and he wasn't expecting to come off, so he looked and saw his name. I thought, oh right, okay. Everybody applauding him off, but I thought, why are you bringing him off? Decore came on. Okay, it's 2-1. Okay, why are you bringing Decore on? When something's working, don't fix it. Because what I was noticing also with Ndiaye, he was protecting, helping out Mikalenko. He was doing his job. It was a perfect storm, a perfect performance from a team at that before they got their goal back and before we started to see this sign. What happened next was Decore, and then a few minutes later, John Calvert-Lewin gets pulled off. Now I must apologise where we got the goal from, or when they scored their first goal. It might have been when Calvert-Lewin came off and so forth and brought better one. But Calvert-Lewin was performing well enough. And again, why? Why did he make that decision? I'm sitting there, I'm looking at what I'm seeing. I think everybody else is seeing the same thing. Why don't you bring Iriburn off? Bring him off. Bring Garner on in that position. Bring Ashley Young on. Again, as I say, whatever people think of Ashley Young or not, everybody knows what my view is. If you've listened to the podcast and you listen to my view on Ashley Young, he's there. Or you put Garner in that position. Bring Seamus Coleman off. Bring Iriburn off. Keep on Ndiaye. Keep on Calvert-Lewin. They didn't need to come off. They were playing well enough, full of confidence. And what happens is when you're playing well and full of confidence, score the goal, you're playing, doing so well, adrenaline kicks in. You can push yourself right to the end of the game. And game management is that we're 2-0 up, we're playing really well, but you make that decision that you think you bring better on, you bring same old, you put McNeil, who was also tiring quite badly as we were getting near to the end of the game. He was put back on his wing on his usual position, and he wasn't supporting Mikalenko. He was too further upfield. He wasn't doing what Ndiaye was doing. So what that causes is that we go back up, we're back up. You've got Irabunam who's still on the pitch. You've got Seamus Coleman who's still on the pitch. And they were growing more and more in confidence, Bournemouth. They were getting further forward. The energy from our team that put all that effort in for the certain period of time, it's just started to wane. And we started just to let them come in. They get 1 goal, they get 2 goal, they get 3 goal within that 10-minute span. And it was a shock because we just sat there. We just couldn't believe what we were seeing. But we as fans were seeing it before Sean Dyche did. But then again, in his press conference afterwards, and this is the key, afterwards he said when that first goal went in, he knew something. He needed to get up and try and change things and trying to do, get to the team to get everything organised. Your captain is on there currently, who should have come off, but if you're not bringing him off, he should have been organising it with the players, trying to make sure that we come to the end of the game with a win. We were in that position to do so, but no, we just completely capitulated and just let it go. And you walk away from that game. I was absolutely pissed off. I was seething with that. I just couldn't believe it. The last time it happened, there's happened a couple of occasions where we've been in winning positions and the teams have come back quite quickly. Newcastle was one of them, and I think Watford when we were 2-1 up and lost 5-2 in the end, where basically the team capitulated. Okay, those instances were not under Sean Dyche, his management. It was under, but it just shows you this team with the players that we have. Some of the players may be new now, but the mentality is that we're in this position, and that mentality is not there. They're not strong enough to actually, at this moment in time, to get ourselves through to the end of the game. What should have been, a confident football team, which we saw, it looked like a very confident team playing the way that they are, is that confidence. It looked confident, but that confidence, if it was there for that period of time, is fragile, and that's when you need senior players, experienced players on the pitch. James Cole being one. As much what you think about Michael Keane, he's been at Everton for a long time. Tarkowski's another player. Pickford as well. And you've got players on that pitch who are experienced enough to try and guide younger players through, or players that in situations where they are tiring quickly. If the manager is not making the decisions to bring those players off who are tired, then that the senior players on that pitch should be the ones, guiding and getting us through it to the end. And we shouldn't be getting through to it like that. We should have been out of sight beforehand. But that's just the way the game was. And the feeling was, for that period of time, we were. It was like it was the inevitability that we were gonna come away with a result. So anyway, that is what's happened. We basically capitulated. We basically just it was like the first goal came in. Our system is all, the formation, the tactic, whatever was, just went out the window. It was like we gave up and we just couldn't fight anymore. It was like all that energy and effort that were put in. Then you start asking about fitness of these players. Are they fit enough? You have gaffer time, in pre-season. Are we up to speed on our fitness wise to get players through? Some players can get through to the end, but it seems to be they haven't got right to the end of the game. They can't, have that energy to keep on going. You would think playing well and you're confident of playing really well. And then you would think that adrenaline and that energy that you've got will drive you through, but it obviously is not the case. And as I say about Irabuna as an example here, he's a young player and he's going to be absolutely fantastic. And he would have been up there with a man of the match award, but he tired very, very badly. As it tired, it was just, you can see it, and he was giving the ball away. He was just out of position all the time, and that's where he just was all over the place. And when in your central midfield, you lose that player, it's like we're down to 10 men. And then when you lose James Coleman, who was also tiring, or Dwight McNeil, who's also tiring, it's like it feels like you lose your players. And that's why my feeling regarding the manager and my opinion about the manager has been the same all along. I wanted him to be successful. I want him to do well. I want him to create a team that we can go forward and get better and better. That's what I want to see. Get the recruitment right. You know, my views on Kevin Farrell, I'll talk about that in a moment. But he's, we've, in the last, since December 2023, we've had 5 wins in that time. And the last few of those wins was near the end of the season. We could talk about points deductions. We could talk about all the things that took place last season. But the record is there. You can see it. The stat is there. You can see it. Everybody can see it. And after that game, yes, you can think that 10 minutes where we completely lost it. But you can say, some fans will say, well, for that 83 minutes or 75, whatever time we played up to when we were 2 up and played the best football around, which I've mentioned in this podcast, yes, that's good. And hopefully, if we see that, that's great going forward. But for too many times now, in the 18 months that he's been manager, yes, he's got us out of a relegation scrap on the last couple of occasions. He's got us out of the situation. He's got us on occasions performing to a certain way in a certain formation and certain tactics with the same players. He's done that. I appreciate that. I at the end of last season I said, look, he's obviously with the takeover scenario and the continued issue with that, he's going to get this season and he's going to get that opportunity. But I hopefully getting the recruitment of bringing players in, hopefully we get the team, and hopefully in time, after Saturday, I've had a little bit more, but I'm still not happy about what I saw. At the end of the day, what he's doing with the game management, substitutions, this has been ongoing throughout last season and this season. His decision making with his coaching setup, who to bring on and who to bring off, and when you bring them on and when you bring off, is not working. And he's failing a lot of the times on that situation. In that instance, we see it. Okay, a lot of fans can say, oh, yeah, we saw that. We can see it happening because we're sat there shouting at the manager, make the change. You need to change. Look, I've seen the occasion last season when Harrison was terrible in one game and he was giving the ball away countless times. He was out of position countless times and everything else. And we can also shout at him, say, when you're going to make the change, he needs to come off. And he dragged it on and on and on until he finally did the change. This is the thing. And okay, you may say, well, the bench, you haven't got anybody else to come on to actually take him. But what are you going to do? He's not, it's like a missing piece. If he's not performing, it's like we've got 10 players on the pitch and he's not doing his job, he's not performing. So you have to be creative. That's what's his job. He's the manager of the football club. But this is where it's all about. And this season, yes, Brighton, Tottenham, and now Bournemouth. Those 2 games pre that, yes, you could see a defeat in them games because they're good teams. They've got the players. They've got the squads to be able to do so, and you saw that. Bournemouth's a different set of circumstances. Bournemouth's going to be similar to where we're going to be. Sounds like, feels like it. And we play really well for that period of time. But as I say, my feelings and what reaction afterwards and what my feelings after that game and my feelings currently is he the right manager for this football club now? Do we need to move on? Do we need to bring a new manager in? Is it time? Is it that time? And Martin out there, if you're listening to this podcast, uh, I know your view about Kevin Farewell and also Sean Dyche. They shouldn't be a manager or director of football. This club, they shouldn't be here. We should have somebody else in charge. We should have a new director of football. But we're in this sort of funny circumstances where basically who's going to make that decision? You've got Kevin Farewell, who, as you say, Martin, shouldn't be here. Should have a better director of football, but he's currently doing that role. And the recruitment that he's made, there's been one of a few players that have come in that he's made recruitment. I've seemed to have done okay and done well. And is one that he's recruited and brought in, and he's started really well. Hopefully that will continue. Irabuna's another one. So he has made good decisions within some players, but some players he hasn't. So he's very hit and miss. But if you want to talk about recruitment of the transfer window on Friday night, we needed a winger, and we didn't get one. So because we didn't get one, then you could say that this recruitment window is a failure because we desperately needed a winger. We desperately needed that position looked at, and obviously it right up to the last day we nearly got a player in from Lyon, but it just didn't happen. So you know, but on Sean Dyche is that countless times, and if you look at the record and you look at, as I mentioned about the stat, is his time up? Is it time that we look somewhere else? Is it looking out there? Who can make that decision? You have an absent owner, people say. I mean, Mashiri is trying to sell the club. John Textor is trying to take over the club. If it will happen, he has to sell his shares, obviously, at Crystal Palace. We don't know. It's all up in the air on that. And he can't make that decision because he has to obviously take over the football club. So he can't do that. So at the moment, Mashiri still has an involvement, or supposedly, with the club. And at the end of the day, also Kevin Farewell, as much as what people think, as I say about Martin, is he right for the club or wrong, not right for the club? That is up to whoever takes over next. But at the moment, he's still doing a job, and at the moment, that's his job. He is a director of football. He should know his stuff. Is he the one who can actually recommend that, or look, we have to look at Sean Dyche and think that we need to look somewhere else? And if that is the case, who would you want to come in? Who out there is there? Is there a young up and coming manager that we don't know of that is probably being looked at? I don't know if they're even looking at anybody else at the moment. I don't know. But is there somebody there? Is there somebody out there that can come in, have all the potential, can take these players that has been and allow them and develop a squad, a team that, we will all love and appreciate and actually move us away from where we currently are. Because yes, it's 3 games in. Yes, we've got a lot more games to go on, and yes, you can look at that argument and say, well, we saw on Saturday what we can be capable of, and what how we can actually perform. But that last 10 minutes is, you know, is what now is taking Sean Dyche into a position where his job become now untenable because of it. And also his comments after games, he seems to like specifically on Saturday, criticizing. He basically, he saw what was going on. He tried to get it, so he put it on the players, which in a sense it's the players' job to do so. And I can understand what he said, but he didn't. Also, he should have acknowledged himself that he should have changed the players earlier. He should have brought the right players on to make it with a little bit more energy to actually get us to the end of the game and get that result, because that's the way it was going. So he should be acknowledging himself that he made mistakes, that he's made errors, but The game management situation is he's done this way too many times, and in every occasion that's why we failed, and that's why we've not got the results, because he's not made the right decisions. And that is the key, and that's where my mindset is, that I think we need to move on from him and look at somebody else. And if it's an experienced manager just for a short term, David Moyes has been mentioned. My view on that is that if it was to happen and we haven't got nobody else available and he's available on a short term basis, then I would be okay to take that on and let him take the club to the end of the season, maybe, and then look at it again then. Uh, and if he keeps us up, then you can look at us and say, well, do you give him more time, or we just say, well, thank you very much, David. There you go. Off. We will now look for somebody else who can take the club going forward into Bramley-Moore Dock, and to take the club and hopefully build the club. And then hopefully at that time we'll have new owners, and then we'll be able to actually start to get this club back to where it belongs. Because the thing is, as I ramble on with this, the thing is that my expectation here is that I'm 48. I remember Everton as winning the championships back in the 80s. I can remember the cup, getting to cup finals, winning in Europe, the great players that we had at that period of time. So my expectation of Everton Football Club is in its what is on the badge. Nil satis nisi optimum. Nothing but the best is good enough. And I don't like, I can, for a period of time under Sean Dyche management, I can understand why he came in. I can understand where the club was at that point, where we were struggling relegation, fighting the relegation, PSR issues, and all the other issues that regarding the club. And he came in, he set up a team, he got the players that he needed to actually do to keep us in the Premier League. But you see, my expectation and my ambition, I want my football club how I support it, since I've supported them since 1983. I want the club to be challenging up there. I want them to be in Europe. I want them to be going for titles. I want to be going to cup finals. I want that club back. I don't want it to be just like a mid-table side that just lives on year in, year out, and just basically just there to make up numbers. I don't. That's not what I want Everton Football Club to be. And if there's fans out there who just want us to, I don't care if we're just mid-table and we're just like that. As long as we're there and we're safe and we're happy in that position, then you know I don't think you should support the football club. Personally, my personal feelings is that Everton Football Club should be challenging up there. As much as you can talk about the top six, as much as you can say like Man City are flying away with it, and Liverpool started the season all right, whatever. All the clubs that are up there, all the media talk about and say that they could be the ones who could challenge for the title, get to cup finals, do all that. Everton should be in that six, in that group, fighting for titles, fighting for trophies, fighting for cup finals, fighting, having the best players, playing in a stadium which is going to be Bramley-Moore Dock, a brand new stadium which is going to be fantastic. And I want my club to be like that. That is what Everton Football Club is. That's what it's all about. Nil satis nisi optimum. Nothing but the best is good enough. And that is not what I'm seeing at the moment. Yes, when you're building a team, yes, you want to build a team that in time will get better and better and better. That happens. That's every football club. And it takes time. I can be patient enough with that. But in the last 3 years, okay, with all the situations off the field, the PSRs and stuff, I can say to Sean Dyche, yes, you've done your job. You've got, you've kept us in the Premier League. You've kept us where, but we are here. I can't see us growing yet. And I can't see us growing with that manager. And I've said all along that Sean Dyche is a short term answer. He's been here for 18 months. He's a short-term answer. His contract runs out at the end of this season. We need somebody, hopefully, if the takeover was sorted this quickly, sadly it didn't, it hasn't, and that continues as it is. If we had that sorted, we could have been having a completely different conversation. But I will say, with Kevin Fellwell's point of view, is that the players that he has brought in are young players. Okay, they're on loans, and we have to go down that road at the moment because financially we can't go flying out, for players. But he's looking at the right players. But the question comes down to, is those players, are they bought for Sean Dyche to manage them going forward into the future if they continue to stay here, if the loans become permanent at next season and so forth, or are they for another manager, another person to come in to coach them? Does Kevin Fellwell have one idea, and does Sean Dyche have another idea? Are they on the same wavelength? We don't know. And that's the question, and that's why I feel, thank you, Sean, but you've taken us as far as you go. And yes, that performance for a certain period of time in that game was fantastic. And you set it up like that. You put the players in to do that job, and kudos to you on that front. But when it comes to game management and the fact that the stats tell us, 5 wins since December 23, that's not good enough. You've done your job. We need to look. We're in an international break now. The opportunity is there to pull the trigger and to look at somebody else coming in. If it's going to be what people say, David Moyes, and I've said about David Moyes, if he can do it to the end of the season, I'll be happy with that to an extent. But if there's somebody out there that we don't know of, that can come in and can get us to the NC, get us playing better, get us performing better, because we have got some good players in that squad. And I just think the management, it's like 1 week after the other, you just don't know what you're going to get from them. And the consistency at this moment in time, if you want to use it, is that, as I say, 5 wins since 2023, December 2023. The consistency is that we lose and lose and lose. We don't pick up as many points, and that has to change because currently we're on 0 points. We've conceded 10 goals. We've only scored 2 in 3 games, and 2 of those games were at home, and that's not good enough. And if you were any other club, and if we had a takeover situation sorted or whatever, he would have been gone by now. But it's who can pull the trigger, who can make that decision. Kevin Fairwell can talk to the board and say, "This is my recommendation. We need to do this." He needs to do it as soon as possible and make that change now. Get somebody in quickly. Get things moving. That when we start the next game, which is going to be a tough one against Villa away, and then we've got Leicester away. So if he was given it more time, I can't see us getting any kind of points from Villa and Leicester maybe because Leicester are in down at the bottom end. They're but we might get something from that point of view. But it's just what do you think? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Is it time for Sean Dyche to go? Is David Moyes a right choice? Obviously, because he's available for a short-term gig, just to come in and do the job. Get the players playing and getting things sorted. Or does Sean Dyche stay a little bit longer, give him a little bit longer, or is it, can we actually give him that time? Let me know in the comments below. From my point of view, I think it's time to look at an alternative for him. And I just feel his game management, his decisions, that's been like that, for a while, for the whole duration he's been with us, where we've all been sitting there. We can see things need changing, and he doesn't change it. And I can see the excuses. Well, we didn't have the players on the bench that can actually come on. I don't think it really matters. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if that player's not performing well, you may as well try it with somebody else. Give him an opportunity. If Dobbin at the time last season is available on the bench, give him an opportunity. Let him have a run out. He might do really well, and that's giving them a chance. So anyway, yeah. So it started well, but ended badly. And I mean, it was the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly. And as I've just said about Sean Dyche before, finish for today, is that Sean Dyche is like Marmite. You either like him or you don't. And I was very much in the middle. I like a bit of Marmite. I like a bit. I don't mind. I don't mind a little bit of Sean Dyche in certain things, and sometimes he speaks common sense. Sometimes when I listen to him, it does sound, yeah, I can understand where he's coming from. But it's what you see from it, and I think, at this moment in time, we've got an opportunity here. Do we pull the trigger? And also, you know, with the takeover and everything else with that needs to be something needs to be done regarding that as soon as possible. It's just dragging on and on and on. And this great club it just needs sorting out, and it just needs to, the clarity there to get the right people in to make the right decisions, the right, you know, going forward as we move into the state, Bramley-Moore Dock, and basically we could be hopefully a Premier League club. But it needs to be sorted. So anyway, on that in the front, yes. So it's you know there was a positive for one moment, but it's just same old, and we just continue on. Yeah, that'll be it for me for today. I want to thank everybody who has listened to my podcast. I do appreciate it, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.